She denied my grief like it was a bad investment pitch, her voice slicing through the conference room like a corner office memo. Esther, pull yourself together. People die in this business all the time. Minutes later, the FBI agents stormed through the double doors, badges flashing under the fluorescent hum, and everything we'd built in blood and secrets crumbled like the cheap coffee mugs on the floor. I never saw it coming, but God, I should have. My name's Esther Hale, and in the cutthroat world of Manhattan mergers, I'd clawed my way from intern to partner at Voss and Associates by burying bodies, metaphorical ones. Mostly. Until that rainy Tuesday, when the real graves started digging themselves. The rain hammered the windows of our 52nd floor office, like it was trying to wash away the sins of Wall Street. But sins like mine don't rinse clean. I'd been staring at the email for hours. The one from HR about my brother Tommy's accident on the job site, some bullshit about a faulty scaffold at the Hudson Yards build.
Tommy.
My kid brother. The one who'd followed me to the city with dreams of making it big in construction. Just like Dad before the union bust. Dead at 28. Crushed under steel beams because some cost-cutting exec decided safety regs were optional.
And me?
I'd signed off on the merger that greenlit the whole damn project. Voss and Associates. My firm. The white knight swooping in to streamline operations for Apex Construction. Streamline. What a pretty word for slashing corners until they bleed. I crumpled the printout in my fist, the paper cutting into my palm like a reminder that grief isn't polite in a place like this. My office door swung open without a knock. Only one person had the balls for that. Lydia Voss. My mentor. My confidant. The ice queen who'd handpicked me a decade ago when I was a wide-eyed JD. From Fordham scraping by on ramen and righteous anger. She was all sharp bob haircut and sharper suits, her Louboutins clicking like a countdown to Judgment Day. Esther, she said, not even glancing at the mess on my desk. Her perfume hit me first, Chanel No. 5. The scent of boardrooms and betrayals. I heard about Tommy. Tragic. But we've got the apex pitch in 10. And Marcus is already circling like a vulture. You good? Good? My brother was a meat sack under a tarp, and she was asking if I was good. I forced a nod, swallowing the lump in my throat that tasted like bile and bourbon from last night's wake.
Yeah.
LYD. Just. Processing. She slid a fresh stack of projections across the desk, her manicured nails tapping the top sheet. Process later. Apex is our ticket to the big leagues, $2 billion in assets. And they're desperate for our forensic accounting magic. Tommy wouldn't want you tanking this over. Sentiment. Sentiment. That's what she called family. I bit my tongue, tasting copper, and grabbed the files. We marched down the hall to the conference room, past the junior associates who averted their eyes like I was contagious. Grief in this tower wasn't a badge, it was a liability. The pitch went like clockwork, me laying out the numbers. Lydia charming the apex suits with her velvet-gloved steel fist. Marcus Hale, no relation. Thank God, our rival from Klein and Partners. Slouched in the back like a bad omen, his smirk saying he'd smelled blood in the water. By the end, handshakes all around, and Apex was ours. Champagne popped in the break room, but I slipped away to the rooftop terrace, the city sprawl mocking me from below. Skyscrapers like jagged teeth, the Hudson a sluggish vein pumping filth. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voicemail. Esther Hale? This is Detective Ruiz. NYPD. We need to talk about the Apex merger. Call me back. It's about the bribes. Bribes? My stomach dropped faster than Tommy's scaffold. I'd buried that secret deep, Lydia's incentive, to the Apex board, funneled through offshore shells I'd helped set up. Not my idea, but I'd signed the docs. Loyalty, she called it. Survival. I deleted the message, heart pounding like a jackhammer. Downstairs, the elevator dinged, and there she was again, Lydia, glass of bubbly in hand. You vanished. Everything okay? I forced a smile. Just needed air. Tommy's service is tomorrow. Her eyes softened. Or maybe it was the liquor. She pulled me into a hug, rare as a market crash. We'll get through this. Family first, right? After the funeral, we'll toast to him properly.
Family.
The word twisted in my gut. If she only knew how deep the lies ran. The funeral was a blur of black umbrellas and pitying glances from Tommy's crew, roughnecks with calloused hands and eyes that said they blamed the suits. I stood at the graveside in Forest Hills, the rain turning the earth to mud, and whispered promises to the headstone. I'll make it right.
Tommy.
Whoever cut those corners, they'll pay. Back at the office Monday, the hammer fell. Lydia called me into her corner suite, the one with the panoramic view of the chaos I'd helped create. Sit, she said, sliding a folder my way. Inside, redacted emails, my signature glowing like neon gilt. Esther, the feds are sniffing around Apex. Internal audit turned up. Irregularities. The bribes. You handled the accounts. My blood iced over. Lydia, that was your play. You told me to. She held up a hand. Her wedding ring, fake as her empathy, catching the light. And you executed brilliantly.
But now?
Plausible deniability. You take the fall. Quietly. Resign. Maybe a plea deal. I'll make sure the board covers your legal. Take the fall? For her? The woman who'd promised me equity. A corner office. A life beyond the projects where Tommy and I grew up dodging bullets and bill collectors. You're throwing me under the bus, I whispered, the words tasting like ash. She leaned in, voice dropping to that conspiratorial purr. It's business. You knew the game when you sat at my table. Tommy's gone, don't make this your grave, too. I stood, chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard. Fuck your game. Her laugh was brittle, echoing off the glass walls. Go home. Think it over. Doors close fast in this town. I didn't go home. I went to a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen. The kind with sticky floors and no questions. And nursed a whiskey neat until the edges blurred. By midnight, I'd pieced it together. Lydia hadn't just greenlit the bribes, she'd orchestrated the whole Apex deal to bury a bigger skeleton. Tommy's accident? No coincidence. A whistleblower on the site, some engineer Tommy trusted, had emails proving Apex skimmed safety funds. Lydia paid him off, then silenced the threat by streamlining the crew. Tommy was collateral. Rage bloomed in my chest, hot and holy. She'd used me to launder the dirt, and now she'd feed me to the wolves to save her skin. But I wasn't prey. Not anymore. The next morning, I didn't resign. I walked into the office with a USB drive burning a hole in my pocket, every email, every transfer, every lie I'd archived just in case. Lydia's door was ajar. She was on the phone. Voice low. Yes. Handle the engineer. Make it look like a suicide. Esther's out. I burst in, slamming the drive on her desk. Handle this first. Her eyes widened, phone clattering down. Esther. What the hell? Everything. The bribes. The payoffs. Tommy's scaffold. You killed my brother to protect your empire. She recovered fast, that serpentine smile curling. Proof? Hearsay from a drunk at a bar?
Sit down. S.
We can fix this. But I was done sitting. FBI's got a tip coming. Anonymous. Of course. Her face drained of color. You wouldn't. Watch me. As I turned to leave, the doors flew open, not mine, but the conference rooms down the hall. Shouts. Badges. The thud of boots on marble. Lydia's empire. My prison. Exposed in a heartbeat. The agents fanned out like shadows in a noir flick, their vests screaming FBI in yellow letters that might as well have been karma. I froze in the doorway of Lydia's office, the USB still warm under my palm, watching the circus unfold. Junior associates scattered like roaches, laptops slamming shut, phones buzzing into silent mode. Marcus Hale, that smug bastard from Klein, lurked by the elevators, his grin wider than the Hudson, like he'd front-rowed the apocalypse. Lydia bolted past me, heels skidding, barking orders. Legal.
Now.
And someone kill the goddamn printers. But it was too late. Agent Ruiz, the same voice from my voicemail, zeroed in on her, flanked by two suits who looked like they bench-pressed indictments for breakfast. MS. Voss, Special Agent Ruiz. We need to talk about Apex Construction. And your associate, Esther Hale. My name on his lips was a slap. Lydia whirled, eyes locking on mine with the fury of a cornered wolf. You bitch. You set me up. I met her gaze, steady as the steel beams that should have held Tommy.
No. LYD.
You did that all by yourself. The agents cuffed her right there, in front of the water cooler and the intern who'd just spilled his kale smoothie. Her protests echoed down the hall. This is a mistake. Call my attorney. But the zip ties bit deep. And for the first time, I saw fear crack her porcelain mask. Real fear. The kind that whispers you're done in the dead of night. They Mirandized her, read her rights like a eulogy, and hauled her toward the service elevator. But Ruiz peeled off, nodding at me. MS. Hale, a word. My legs turned to lead as I followed him to an empty conference room, the glass walls fogging with my breath. He was mid-40s, salt and pepper buzz cut, eyes that had seen too many ledgers laundered into lies. We got an anonymous tip this morning. Detailed. Offshore accounts, falsified audits, even a link to a construction fatality.
Tommy.
My throat tightened. And you're in it too. MS.
Hale.
Signatures on the transfers. But the tipster fingered Voss as the architect. Says you were coerced. Coerced. What a clinical word for 10 years of gaslighting and golden handcuffs. I leaned against the table, the wood cool under my sweating palms. What happens now? He flipped open a notepad, pen poised like a guillotine. You cooperate. Maybe we cut a deal. Walk away clean. But if you're playing both sides, I'm not. The lie tasted sweet. A shot of adrenaline. Truth was, I'd been playing Lydia's game so long I'd forgotten my own rules. But Tommy's face, that goofy grin from our last Yankees game, flashed in my mind. She killed my brother. Covered it up with Apex money. Ruiz's pen paused. That's a hell of an allegation. Proof. I slid the USB across. Start with this. He pocketed it. Expression unreadable. Sit tight. We'll be in touch. By noon, the office was a ghost town. Yellow tape fluttering like surrender flags. The board issued a press release. Voss and Associates under investigation. Operations suspended. My phone exploded. Reporters from the Post, CNBC, even that podcaster who specialized in white-collar whack jobs. I ignored them all, driving my beat-up Subaru out to Queens, to the row house Ma and I shared before I traded it for Tribeca lofts and loyalty oaths. Ma was in the kitchen, stirring gravy like nothing had changed, her apron stained from decades of feeding dreams that never filled. Esther? You look like hell warmed over. I collapsed into a chair, the weight of the day crushing me. Lydia's arrested.
Ma.
FBI. It's all coming out. She set the spoon down, eyes narrowing, the same steel that got us through Dad's strike and Tommy's juvie stint. That witch. I told you she was poison.
You did.
But ambition's a blindfold, and Lydia tied it tight. We ate in silence, meatloaf and mashed like a time machine to simpler betrayals. That night,
Sleep dodged me.
the ceiling fan whirring accusations. Was I the hero leaking dirt, or just another rat-jumping ship? Dawn brought a knock, not Ruiz, but Marcus Hale, leaning on his Porsche like he owned the block. Esther. Rough night. I crossed my arms, blocking the door. What do you want? Marcus? Come to gloat. He chuckled, low and genuine, handing me a thermos of what smelled like diner coffee.
Nah.
Offer. Klein's poaching Voss talent.
You in?
We could use someone who knows where the bodies are buried.
Tempting.
Klein was the devil I knew, ruthless, but upfront about it. No honeyed lies. Why me? I'm toxic right now. Because you're smart. And Lydia?
She's done. But you.
You could rebuild. His eyes flicked to the house, appraising. Or stay here, playing martyr. I took the coffee, steam curling like secrets. I'll think about it. He drove off, and I sipped, the bitterness grounding me. By afternoon, Ruiz called, debrief tomorrow. And Hale, watch your back. Voss made powerful friends.
Friends.
Like the Apex board, or the politicians she'd wined and dined at Davos. I spent the evening digging, old files on my laptop, cross-referencing Tommy's accident report with Apex bids. There it was, a shadow payment to Consultant E. Grant, Lydia's maiden name. She'd flipped the engineer, paid him to falsify the scaffold logs.
Then. What?
Pushed him?
No. Tommy.
My brother had confronted him, loyal idiot that he was. Keep your mouth shut, or else. And the else was a nudge off the beam. Rage reignited, but sharper now, laced with doubt. Lydia had flipped on me. Would I flip on her completely? The feds wanted a scalpel. I wanted a sledgehammer. The debrief was in a federal holding cell downtown. Fluorescent buzz and the stink of stale fear. Lydia sat across the table in an orange jumpsuit that clashed with her complexion, cuffs chaining her to the ring like a bad joke. No lawyer, yet hers was scrambling, and her eyes, when they met mine, were daggers dipped in venom. Traitor, she hissed as the guard locked the door.
Pot.
Kettle, I shot back, taking the seat. Ruiz observed from the corner, recorder whirring. She leaned forward, chains rattling. You think this ends me? I built this firm from nothing. You're a footnote. Footnotes have teeth. I laid it out, the USB files, the timelines, Tommy's texts begging me to look into Apex shady shit. Her face cycled through denial, rage, calculation. Classic Lydia. Flip the script. Make me the villain. It was your signature.
S.
You wanted in. The power. The penthouse.
Tommy?
Tragic oversight. But you knew the risks. Ruiz cleared his throat. MS. Voss. Coercion isn't consent. She laughed, bitter as burnt espresso. Coercion? I gave her everything. And now she stabs me in the back for a deadbeat brother. The word deadbeat lit the fuse. I lunged, but Ruiz's hand on my shoulder held me. Enough. Hale. Outside. In the hall. He lit a cigarette, against regs. But who cared? She's cracking. Good work. But she's lawyering up soon. We need more. Like what? Her black book. Contacts. The real players. I nodded. But inside, the plan shifted. Revenge wasn't just testimony, it was total ruin. That night, I met Marcus at a speakeasy in the village. Jazz humming low, amber liquids glowing. I'm in, I said, clinking glasses. But I need access. Off books. His brow arched. To what? Everything. He grinned. Welcome to the family, Esther. As I walked home through the neon haze. Phone buzzing with a blocked call, Lydia's jailhouse line. No doubt. I felt the noose tightening. Allies flipped. Secrets unearthed. But whose side was I really on? Tommy's ghost whispered justice. But the city screamed survive. Klein and partners hit like a freight train. Relentless. Roaring through the canyons of Midtown with deals that devoured competitors whole. My first week was a whirlwind of NDAs and nectar, a corner office, smaller than Lydia's. But mine. A signing bonus that paid off Ma's mortgage, and Marcus's wink that said you're one of us now. But under the gloss, the grind was the same, late nights auditing empires built on sand, coffee IVs, and the nagging itch that revenge wasn't a paycheck, it was a blade. I played the part, sharp suits, sharper smiles, feeding Ruiz scraps from Lydia's trial prep. The feds built their case like a Jenga tower, bribes here, obstruction there, while I siphoned her digital empire through a backdoor Marcus's IT guy cracked. Emails, voicemails, even her therapy notes from that Park Avenue shrink who charged more per hour than most folks made in a month. Goldmine, Lydia confessing to silencing distractions post-Tommy, her voice cracking like thin ice. But the deeper I dug, the murkier it got. Lydia hadn't acted alone. Apex's CEO, Harlan Crow, a silver fox with a poker face and political donors like party favors, had greenlit the cover-up. And the engineer, Elias Grant, her cousin, flipped twice, first to her for cash, then to the feds for immunity. Now he was in witness protection, spilling just enough to sink Voss without touching Apex. Or so he thought. Marcus caught me in the server room one midnight, screens glowing like guilty confessions. Burning the candle. Hail. I minimized the window, pulse racing. Just tying loose ends, he stepped closer, cologne cutting the ozone hum. Lydia's ends, or ours? Ours? Klein had its own skeletons, rumors of insider trading on biotech mergers. Whispers Marcus quashed with NDAs and retirement packages. I weighed him, ally, or another Lydia in wolf's clothing. Both. She burned me. I won't let it spread. He nodded, clapping my shoulder.
Smart.
But careful. Feds get twitchy with freelancers.
Freelancer.
That's what I was now. A ghost in the machine.
Haunting the machine. By day.
I charmed clients at steakhouses in the meatpacking district. Ribeyes rare and reds robust. Dropping hints that positioned Klein as the ethical alternative to Voss's fallout. By night, I plotted. Anonymous drops to prosecutors. Deepfakes of Lydia's boardroom rants edited to sound like confessions. Controversial? Hell yes. Legal? Gray as the East River fog. The twist hit during a Klein retreat in the Hamptons. White sands. White lies. Billionaires in boat shoes. Marcus pulled me aside on the deck. Ocean crashing like applause. Heard from Ruiz?
Yeah.
Indictments coming. Lydia's pleading. Good. But Crow's lawyered up, top tier. The kind that buys judges. He handed me a flash drive. Matte black. Our insurance. Apex ledgers. Doctor to show Crow knew about the scaffold skim. My fingers tightened around it. This is dynamite. Or a dud. If it backfires. His eyes searched mine. You flip this on him. It's checkmate. But if Crow traces it. You're the fall guy. Again. The pattern of my life. Scapegoat supreme. Tommy's voice echoed. Don't let him use you. But using them back. That was the American dream. Twisted tight. I pocketed it. The salt air thick with promise. Consider it done. Back in the city. I leaked the drive through a tour relay. Tagged to a Times reporter who'd covered the Voss scandal like a bloodhound. Boom. Front page splash. Apex CEO implicated in fatal cover-up. Crow's stock tanked. His Hamptons mansion foreclosed overnight. Lydia, from her cell, must have seethed, her puppet strings cut by the woman she'd groomed. But revenge is a boomerang. And mine curved back sharp. Ruiz called at 3 a.m. Hail. What the fuck? That leak, it's got your prints. Metadata.
Shit.
Marcus's IT guy. Sloppy or sabotaged. I don't know what. Save it. You're a person of interest now. Come in. Dawn found me in a safe house in Brooklyn. A walk-up with peeling wallpaper and a view of nothing. Ma called, voice trembling. Esther?
Cops at the door.
What's happening? Lie low.
Ma.
It's fallout. Fallout from flipping the board. From decisions that blurred hero and heel. I hold up. Chain-smoking camels, Tommy's vice. Not mine, plotting the next move.
Crow.
Cornered. Flipped two. Plea deal naming Lydia as mastermind. Me as willing accomplice. The press ate it up. Wall Street femme fatale turns on protege. Lydia's trial was a circus. Court TV cameras. Tabloid headlines screaming betrayal at the top. I testified. Voice steady under the lights. Laying out the coercion. The grief she'd dismissed like yesterday's news. Jurors leaned in. Some nodding empathy. Others squinting suspicion. Was I victim or viper?
Cross-exam.
Her lawyer, a slick Harvard shark, grilled me. MS. Hail. You benefited from these irregularities. Penthouse? Partnership? Sounds like profit. Not pressure. Objection overruled. I met his gaze. Profit doesn't buy back a brother. The gallery murmured. Divided. Feminists cheering my grit. Conservatives decrying corporate cannibalism. Lydia took the stand next. A ghost in gray pinstripes. spinning tales of my ambition run amok. Esther craved the throne, she purred. I gave her the ladder. She kicked it away.
Lies.
Layered thick. But doubt wormed in had I pushed for the deals. Ignored the red flags. All for the rush of closing? Verdict day. Rain lashed the courthouse steps like judgment. Guilty on all counts. Fraud. Manslaughter. Conspiracy. Lydia's mask shattered. Tears. Real ones. As they led her away. 20 years. Minimum. Crow got 10. The engineer probation.
Outside.
Flashbulbs popped. Reporters shouting. Esther. Vindicated or villain? I pushed through. No answers. Just the hollow echo of victory. Marcus waited in a town car.
Door open.
Hell of a show. Klein's celebrating. You're golden. I slid in. The leather creaking like old bones. Is it over? He poured scotch.
Neat.
For them?
Yeah.
For you? Depends.
On what?
The feds clearing my name, or the shadows I'd cast. As the car merged into traffic, horns blaring like banshees, I glimpsed a face in the rearview, Elias Grant, Lydia's cousin, watching from a sedan. Flipped again? Or coming for his own pound of flesh? The blade hung, and I gripped it tighter. The acquittal came quiet. A footnote in the Post buried under Met's trades and mayoral scandals. Voss accomplice cleared amidst firestorm. No parade. Just a call from Ruiz. You're clean?
Hail.
But stay frosty. Guys like Crow don't forget. I hung up in my Klein office. The skyline mocking me with its unscarred gleam.
Clean.
Like the Hudson after an oil spill. Surface shine. Bottom rot. Klein threw a welcome back bash at the Polo Lounge. Crystal clinking and egos inflating like balloons. Marcus toasted me. To Esther. The phoenix who burned it all down. Laughter rippled. Backslaps from partners who'd whispered guilty behind my back. I smiled through gritted teeth. Champagne fizzing bitter on my tongue. Phoenix? More like ash. Sifting through for unburnt grudges. Ma threw her arms around me that night. Her hug bone crush and unconditional. Proud of you, baby. Tommy's smiling. We cracked a bottle of Manischewitz, his favorite. Cloyingly sweet, and swapped stories, Dad's strike tales. Tommy's first home run. For an hour. Grief was a guest. Not a ghost. But dawn brought the claw, a manila envelope. No postmark. Slid under my door.
Inside.
Photos, grainy surveillance of me at the safe house. Timestamps from the leak night. And a note. Typed sterile. You flipped the board. My turn. Meet at the old site. Midnight. Or Ma's next. Hudson Yards. Tommy's grave in rebar and regret. My hands shook as I dialed Marcus. Voicemail.
Shit.
Elias Grant, the engineer. The flipper. Out on probation. But grudges don't need bail. I drove out alone. The city lights fading to industrial gloom. The site a skeletal cathedral of half-built towers and caution tape whipping in the wind. Midnight sharp. Headlights cut through the dark. Elias. Leaning on a chain-link fence. Face gaunt under sodium lamps. Esther Hale, he drawled. Southern drawl thick as kudzu. The Avenger arrives. I killed the engine. Stepping out with keys jabbing my palm like brass knuckles. What do you want? Elias? Lydia's rotting. Crows broke. You're free. He laughed. A wheeze like rusted pipes. Free? Probation's a leash. Darlin'. And you? You pin the scaffold on me in that testimony. Willing participant, you called it. I called facts. You took the payoff. To feed my kids after Lydia promised the moon and delivered mud. She flipped me first, blackmailed my debts. Then the threats. He stepped closer, eyes fever-bright. Tommy? He came to me, said he'd go public. Lydia ordered the nudge. I didn't push, I looked away. The confession hung, heavy as the beams overhead. Looked away. Complicity's quiet killer. Why tell me now? Because you're the last thread. Cut you. The story dies. No more trials. No more eyes on Apex's other accidents. He pulled a pistol, small, black, illegal as hell, from his jacket. Or we both walk away. Your call. My mind raced. Scream for non-existent security. Lunge for the gun.
Or talk.
American as apple pie. Negotiate the nightmare. What if I flip it? Leak your side. Make you the tragic patsy. He snorted. Too late. I've got friends too. A nod to the shadows. Two figures emerging. Hoodies up. Ball bats glinting. Thugs for hire. Queen's edition. Panic surged. But so did clarity. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the storm. Elias.
Think.
You kill me. It's murder one. Tommy died for nothing. Don't make me the sequel. He wavered. Gun dipping. Lydia said you were soft. Grief makes you weak. Grief makes me steal. I lunged, not for him, but the fence, yanking a loose panel free with a screech. Metal whip cracked toward the thugs. One crumpling with a yelp. Elias fired wild, bullet pinging rebar, and I tackled him, keys gouging his wrist till the gun skittered into mud. We rolled, grunts and curses, his fists glancing off my ribs like Tommy's old boxing gloves. The thugs recovered, bats swinging, but sirens wailed, Marcus. Bless his opportunistic soul. Roaring up in the Porsche. Klein's security piling out like avenging angels. Elias spat blood, cuffed by the arriving blues. You flipped again, he snarled as they dragged him. Survival, I gasped, ribs screaming. Marcus helped me up, his grip firm. Told you to stay frosty. In the aftermath, statements. Stitches. A dawn cigarette on the ER steps, the controversy brewed. Leaks hit the wires, boss protege in midnight melee, engineer alleges frame job. Pundit split, was I vigilante justice or reckless revenge? Feminists hailed my grit, cynics called it chaos porn. Ma fretted over matzo ball soup. Enough, Esther. Walk away. But walking was for quitters. With Elias spilling anew, Lydia's full web, including Klein's tangents, I had leverage. Marcus offered partnership, co-lead the ethics division. Clean slate. Ethics. The word curdled. I took it, but on my terms, a side project, pro bono audits for construction unions, Tommy's legacy in ledgers. Months blurred, trials wrapped, headlines faded, but the tension coiled. Lydia wrote from prison, pages of vitriol and veiled pleas. You owe me.
S.
Blood's thicker.
No.
It wasn't. But doubt? That was family. The climax brewed at the annual Wall Street Gala. Chandeliers dripping diamonds on tuxes and tensions. Crow. Out on appeal. Cornered me by the bar. Breath scotch sour. You ruined me.
Hail.
Family starving. Join the club. Tommy's face flashed, crushed.
Gone.
He leaned in, voice venom low. Lydia flipped on you too. Said you masterminded it all. For the thrill. Liar. Or was he? The room spun. Faces blurring. Marcus schmoozing donors. Reporters circling like sharks. I slipped out to the balcony. City pulse below. And dialed Ruiz. One more thing. Crow's bluffing, but check his appeals docket. As I hung up, a shadow fell. Lydia's lawyer. Briefcase in hand. MS. Hail? A proposition. My blood chilled. From her? From those she still owns. Envelope exchanged, photos. This time of Ma, at the market. Tommy's old crew tailing her. Drop the union audits. Or escalations. The decision loomed. Controversial as a market crash. Protect my own, or burn the house down. I pocketed the pics. Mind whirring. Flip or fold.
Inside.
Marcus found me. You okay?
No. But revenge?
It was evolving. Better than ever. The gala's afterglow curdled into conspiracy by morning, Crow's appeal mysteriously withdrawn. His friends ghosting like bad debts. Lydia's lawyer vanished, disbarred overnight for ethical lapses. I didn't ask how. Marcus's wink said Klein played dirty. And dirty won. But victory tasted like bile. The kind that rises when you realize the throne's barbed wire. I dove into the union audits, poring over blueprints and bids in a windowless Klein basement. Fluorescent hum my new lullaby. Blue-collar ghosts haunted the stacks, Tommy's crew. Grizzled vets with stories of skimped steel and silenced warnings. You're fighting the good fight. One grunted over lukewarm Diner Joe. But the suits always flip. He was right. 6 months in. The first crack. A Klein client. Bioforge Pharma. Flagged for fudging clinical trials. My report recommended pulling the merger. Ethics over earnings. Marcus's office. Walnut walls closing in. Esther. This tanks our quarter. Crow-level fallout. Crow killed people. I countered. Voice steel. This kills hope. He steepled fingers. Eyes appraising. And if I say no, you walk. The room thickened. Air charged like a storm front. Flip him, or fold into the machine. Your call, partner. He sighed. Signing off.
Fine.
But next one's mine. Compromise. The gray zone where right and wrong blurred into survival. The press caught wind, Klein's conscience. Ex-boss star halt shady deal, splitting opinions anew. Twitter, or X, whatever the hell they called it now, erupted. Esther Hale hero versus corporate witch hunt. Debates raged in bars and boardrooms. Was I redeeming Wall Street? Or just laundering my guilt? Ma beamed over Shabbat dinner. Candles flickering on the scarred oak table. You're making him proud, Esther. But her eyes held worry. The envelopes had stopped, but shadows lingered. The twist uncoiled on a crisp October eve. Leaves crunching underfoot as I walked home from the office. A tail, sleek sedan. Tinted windows. Heart hammering. I ducked into a bodega, grabbing a burner phone. Dialed Elias, probation ghost. But whispers said he'd flipped informant. Grant. It's Hale. Who's writing me? Silence. Then a chuckle dark as death. Not me, darlin'. But Lydia's got reach. Old allies. New grudges. Watch the rear view.
Click.
I emerged. Scanning the street. Empty. Save for figure in a trench. Ruiz. Badge glinting. Jesus.
Agent.
Timing? He smirked, lighting up. Instinct. Your union digs stirred the nest. Apex remnants, Crow's donors, they're lawyering a countersuit. Slander. The works. My gut twisted. I have proof. Not enough. They flipped the narrative. You're the vengeful ex. Fabricating for fame. He exhaled smoke rings. Prophetic. Trial of the century. Round 2.
No.
I wouldn't courtroom circus again. That night, in my loft, minimalist chic masking the mess, I pieced the endgame. Lydia's black book, digitized from the raid. Names, numbers, the web of influence. One call to a journalist contact. Off the record? Until it's not. The drop hit like a bomb. Wall Street's secret cabal. Donors. Deals. And deaths. Pages of connections. Crow's PAC funding senators who'd quashed OSHA probes. Lydia's consultants greasing palms from Albany to D.C. No direct ties to me, but the implication scorched, systemic rot, with Voss and Klein as symptoms. Fallout was biblical. Stocks plunged. Hearings convened. My name splashed as Whistleblower 2.0. Marcus called. Furious. You leaked? Without looping me. Ethics. Remember? I shot back. Your ethics. He hung up. But not before. You're fired. Effective now.
Fired.
The word echoed Tommy's last text. Sis. Get out before it eats you. Too late? Or just in time? The climax peaked in a federal safe house. Ironic. After all the flipping, Ruiz briefing me as suits scrambled. This cabal? They're coming unglued.
Suicides. Please. But you?
Target 1.
Crow.
The spider at center. I slipped his leash myself, a forged invite to a reconciliation summit at the old Voss Tower. Now a husk awaiting auction. Midnight. Under scaffolding ghosts. He arrived disheveled.
Desperate.
MS. Hail, he rasped. Eyes hollow. Truce.
No.
I held up my phone, recording live to a cloud server.
Confess.
For Tommy. For all of them. He lunged, but age and arrogance slowed him. We grappled. Shadows dancing. Until Ruiz's team burst in, tipped. Of course. Crow spilled Lydia's orders. His complicity. The flips that buried bodies. As cuffs clicked, he whispered, You're no better. Revenge? It's just another merger. The words lodged.
Barbed.
Dawn broke over the city. Towers clawing the sky like accusations. Lydia got life. No parole. Her final flip. Begging mercy in a plea vid that aired viral.
Crow. 25.
The cabal unraveled. Reforms whispered in D.C. Corridors.
But me?
Vindication's a Pyrrhic prize. Klein sued for breach. I countersued. Settling out of court with enough to fund the Tommy Hale Safety Foundation, union audits, scholarships for kids from the projects. Mom moved to Florida, chasing sun and peace. Marcus? We crossed paths at a gala. Awkward nod. No handshakes. Flipped allies. Full circle.
Now.
In a modest brownstone in Brooklyn, I sip black coffee, watching the bridge lights pulse. Readers debate. Hero? Hypocrite? The twist? I leaked Lydia's therapy notes too. Her own words. Raw. Esther was my daughter.
Once.
I broke her to save her. Fact or fiction? You decide. Grief denied. Empires exposed. But in the quiet, Tommy's laugh echoes, sis. You flipped the world. And for once, I sleep sound. Was it justice? Or just the American way, when ugly? Argue later? That's the controversy that lingers. Sharp as rain on glass.